All right, we're gonna do this video a little different. Might get into some tarot, but we're gonna do a little hangout before I go for a walk. I don't know why I'm gonna go, but mostly just practice, move some weight around. I'm gonna chit chat a little bit about another one of my favorite things to do besides tarot. Tarot is a very small part of what I do. It's a lot newer. This actually says mental fortitude, or pronounced in Japanese, Shishin Ryoku. This is a bit of an update that I've done to this piece. This is the upper trunk of a tree that is still living in the ground. That's what's unique about this one compared to my other one. This has to be trimmed again because, as you can see, my work seems to mushroom the bottom, which makes these not an eternal tool, but something that is finite, right? Eventually it gets a bit short. This will be, I'm probably going to do some trimming of the end tonight. And to be honest, I just take a circular saw and just whoop, and make a nice clean cut on the bottom, take some sandpaper, and then I re-bevel the edges. And this is what it becomes after a few weeks of working, with this staff. My other one is a little more put together. This one does not have a name yet, but this one is the entire trunk of a very symmetrical pine. And it is, well, before it was scarred up, it was butter smooth. It has quite a bit of scarring now, but you can see this one starts to mushroom as well. Very hard. This one, unfortunately, has been trimmed to the max. So it really, it just about reaches like my palm when I'm standing, Oh, this is an experimental piece that I do have. So I was digging in the ground probably 20 miles away, and this is a Herkimer diamond, right? So this is a 9 to 9.5 on the, I forgot what the scale is called, Richter scale, I believe. The scale that you use to grade diamonds. Okay, so it's near as hard as a diamond. This is an experimental piece that I made. A little bit of spiralization on the handle here, as you can see. Okay, no paint. I only used a natural oil, but usually no oil because I know that these are finite tools. These are not swords. They are here and then they're gone. They do not last forever. This one I thought is pretty interesting because a technique involves the arc of this staff. The only problem I have with this one is it's a little bit heavy to carry around. I really prefer something that moves very quickly. It's feather light. It allows you to use micro movements to maximum advantage, right? Although this one, I've found that with the crystal being under the thumb here, you can use the top of the handle to also insinuate the micro movements. can use them to engage, right, with these micro movements. As you know, everything matters when it comes to magic, the will behind the magic, and the intention. And if you do all this while following basic laws of magic, then you'd be surprised what you can do with 0 incantations. Yeah. It's really all about willpower and intention. And of course, how much magic is inside of one. There has to be room for magic if there's I really feel that it's somewhat of, I am a Star Wars fan, right? Among other stories, but Star Wars is very interesting in the way that it describes the Force, right? And the way there's the Jedi and the Sith, and that they both use the Force to great effect, but the Jedi believe that it's only to be used in a certain way. Otherwise, you corrupt oneself and you actually end up losing. To me, it's a bit of the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? And it's a bit of it's an analogy of slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? And it's to Avisa Lafin, right? This is the motto of the Kennedys, okay? It is to consider the end with all things, right? What is the direction that you're heading with what it is that you're trying to do, okay? This can be very important to consider, right? We are considering the end, right? What is the end game? So these are the types of thought processes that I use within magic, okay? And this is guided by Archangel Michael, as well as Gabriel, Raphael, Raziel, Uriel, Ariel, Ha'ail, and Samael, okay? These are all archangels that I work closely with. There are many different archangels, okay? There are many different pronunciations for archangels. While we're on this topic, I believe that many of the gods and goddesses that we see in Hinduism, right? Now, they have this, it's multi-god, right? But the names I just gave you, right? Mikhail through Samael. To a human soul, these would be considered to be gods. Their power is godly. But there had to be a source angel. There must be, right? It's just what mathematically makes sense, right? It's also what interests me a lot in the Japanese language. I find that it is based in math. And I also find it to be very similar to Sumerian, which is one of the original written languages on Earth, if not the original, right? I think about the fact that within the past 2 years, right, possibly longer, artificial intelligence has been able to reconstruct and compile information. Okay. Oh, look, the Merkaba. Reconstruct and compile information on the clay tablets, right? Sumerian tablets. It's able to rapidly cross reference tablets and fill in pieces that have broken off of tablets and make very strong assumptions of what belongs there based on what's there and cross referencing to other tablets for language similarity, right? This is something that this rapid pattern recognition would be extremely rare to find in a human mind, especially one that grew up in a public school, right? Which is, let's say, the majority of even first world countries, right? They're still trained to be institutionalized. This is a very big problem in the world right now, okay? Because our science, our math insinuates from a language standpoint and even from a mathematical standpoint that we do not use the full percentage of our brains. And yet, when the opportunity arises within families who know this, they keep sending the next generation to public school, right? And there's also not really been a school system devised to properly assess young children at a young age. This should be done at, pre-K level, kindergarten level, to assess one's IQ standpoint. If they meet certain criteria, it's possible that they're meant to do higher learning, right? And I don't mean becoming a doctor or a lawyer. I mean, in the case of experimental language and mathematics, right? Which ultimately this is the most divine truth of the human race, in a way. Yeah, it's like a trifecta, right? To, read, write, arithmetic. Yeah, the 3 R's. But it's been dumbed down and dumbed down and dumbed down, right? And now it's to the point where we have computers that are going to be training and thinking for us. As we do this, we also need to create a group of young humans that are getting trained to go above and beyond into experimental quantum math, and not on a whim when they get to college, but trained in it while their mind is forming, right? And trained by people of the highest caliber within that discipline. There's 7 swords here. If you add up the swords on each side of this. Yeah, so there's always, 1440 on the timer. Receiving. King of Cups. There's the 7. It's magic. So that's about all I have to do right here, right now, I'm going to go take a walk and throw some weight around.